All the latest news right here on Fox News Channel with Bob Sellers and Derry Alexander. Tune in tomorrow for Fox News Sunday. Check your local listing. There are the guests. And I'll be back here at noon Eastern tomorrow with more Weekend Live. Until then, stay right here on Fox News Channel.
Fox out front of a surprise inspection. It appears UN inspectors changing their MO in their search for Saddam's weapons of mass destruction. And a love of leather with one of our Iraq inspectors. A decision is made about the future of that inspector that admits to being active in the world of S&M clubs. Will he stay or will he go? Plus, Al-Qaeda in Kenya. The U.S. and Israelis taking a hard look at the very real possibility that Osama bin Laden's terror network is behind this week's attacks. Then, how likely is it terrorists could use its surface-to-air missile against jetliners here in the United States? We'll examine that. Also, the Osbournes. Well, they have big New Year's Eve plans. Are you on the guest list? Do you want to be on that list? Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Sellers in New York, along with Derry Alexander. Let's get to our top story first. Greg Palkot is live in Amman, Jordan. Greg.
Hey, Bob. More weapons inspections today in Iraq and a visit to a potential nuclear hotspot. The nuclear watchdog group, the IAEA team, went to a place called the Public Company of the Mother of All Battles. It is run by Iraq's Military Industrial Commission, and that's the commission which oversees Iraq's nuclear arms program. They also went to the Al Farat facility. We visited that facility when we were in Iraq last month. Washington recently noted this as a high-priority location. It's viewed as a possible site for the enrichment of uranium for use in nuclear bombs. There's been new construction noted there by Washington. When we were there, we saw no real evidence of illicit activity. Hopefully, the inspectors today were allowed a bit more access. And the other group from the Chemical and Biological Weapons Team, UNMOVIC, went to a small military post to the north of Baghdad. Now, unlike other visits that we have seen to sites this past week, this stop, according to those who were there, looked actually unexpected. Soldiers were scurrying around when the team arrived, officials quickly shutting down the facility to others. Now, no weapon production was visible, but the possible aim of this visit, checking for stored warheads filled with chemical or biological agents. It has been asserted that Iraq has thousands of those still unaccounted for. Finally, what kind of results will come from these inspections? That has been a topic of some discussion this week. It has been noted that 75% of the inspectors have never been to Iraq before. With the clock ticking as fast as it is, the learning curve is a very steep one. Also, some complaints being raised that some more experienced individuals have been passed over for maybe less experienced or less appropriate ones. Bob, as you mentioned, like an American inspector with a dual background, both in munitions and running an S&M leather club. According to Chief Weapons Inspector Hans Blix, quoted yesterday, he's standing by his man. That's the latest from Amman. Back to you in New York, Bob.
Indeed. Greg, thank you very much. Well, as the U.S. gets ready for possible military action on Iraq, new fears that U.S. troops won't have the most state-of-the-art protective gear in case of a biological or chemical attack. Lawmakers, though, say some gas masks are not working properly and there aren't enough new, highly protective lightweight suits. Connecticut Congressman Chris Shays says he's found gas masks that have wrong gaskets, and there's word that some 250,000 defective suits are missing. The Defense Department, though, maintains it will be able to provide the gear needed to all troops sent to the Gulf. Joined now by Derry Alexander, who joins us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Indeed. Still eating leftovers. I guess it'll last another day or two.
Well, things were certainly peaceful here, but abroad,
yes.
Thursday was a very, very upsetting, tragic day. Investigators still trying to figure out who is responsible for the dual attacks on Israelis in Kenya that happened on Thursday. And so far, authorities say Al-Qaeda cannot be ruled out. Let's go live now to Jonathan Hunt in Jerusalem. Jonathan.
Hi, Dari. Hi, Bob. It's been another long day for Israeli investigators in Kenya, doing what they can to fulfill the pledge made by Ariel Sharon, Israel's prime minister, to hunt down the attackers. As the investigators sift through the rubble of the Paradise Hotel near Mombasa, Suspicion is centering on two groups, Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda network and a Somali group called Al-Ittihad al-Islamiyah. U.S. officials say those two groups may even have been working together to carry out the bomb attack and the failed rocket attack on the Israeli airliner. Now, 4 Somalis are among 10 people being questioned by the Kenyan authorities. The other 6 are Pakistanis. An American woman who was being held has been released. She apparently had nothing whatsoever to do with the attacks. In Mombasa today, a memorial service was held for the victims of the bombings. There were funeral services, too, for some of the Kenyans who died. Meantime, the U.S. State Department has issued a new warning regarding the possibility of similar terrorist attacks in a number of East African nations. All American citizens are urged to remain vigilant. Back here, a 16-year-old Palestinian boy was shot and killed near Gaza City today. Now, witnesses say he was shot dead by Israeli soldiers, but the Israeli army says its troops merely fired warning shots into the air when a group of boys approached a border fence. That incident is now being investigated. Live in Jerusalem, Jonathan Hunt, Fox News. Bob and Dari, back to you guys.
Thanks, Jonathan, for that report. And in just a few minutes, we will talk with a terrorism expert and get his take on how likely it is al-Qaeda is behind those Kenya attacks. Also ahead, the idea of a surface-to-air missile being shot at a plane is very, very scary, obviously. So are American jetliners vulnerable? We will examine what is being done to prevent such an attack. And it is the season of service while the troops are overseas fighting the war on terror.
Indeed, President Bush says there's plenty we can do right here at home, and the president also saying the financial crunch since 9/11 could stop some federal workers from getting a pay raise. Live report now from Fox's James Rosen near the Western White House in Crawford, Texas. James.
Bob and Dari, good afternoon from windy central Texas, where President Bush is saying today that because the United States has been in a state of national emergency since September the 11th of 2001, the federal government cannot afford to give its own employees full pay raises equivalent to those that private companies are giving their own private sector employees in and around the nation's capital. Shortly after 9/11, the president greeted federal workers at the Eisenhower Executive Office building, and he thanked them for returning to work after that horrific attack. But in a letter released quietly on Friday to the Speaker of the House and to the President of the Senate, Mr. Bush said he was invoking his own legal authority to limit the pay increases to less than what the federal employees are statutorily entitled to, because full pay hikes would, and I quote, interfere with our nation's ability to pursue the war on terrorism. Most civilian federal employees will be affected by this decision, but the president noted their pay hikes will still exceed the rate of inflation. Military pay raises will not at all be affected by the president's decision. Now, at least one lawmaker has already declared his opposition to the reduced pay hikes. Democratic Congressman Steny Hoyer of Maryland says that after Mr. Bush created the Homeland Security Department on Monday, thereby reassigning 170,000 executive branch employees, the president's decision gives short shrift to civilian workers at the CIA, the Centers for Disease Control, and elsewhere. Anything less than the 4.1% pay adjustment, Mr. Hoyer is quoted as saying today, sends the regrettable message that the services they provide to America are not valued. And Mr. Hoyer, who is influential in the appropriations process, is vowing to try to restore the money legislatively. Now, since Wednesday, Bob and Dari, President Bush has stayed out of sight. He's enjoying a long holiday weekend with his family, including his famous parents, former President George Herbert Walker Bush and former First Lady Barbara Bush. In his weekly pre-recorded Saturday morning radio address, however, the president urged all Americans to perform community service as a way of brightening the lives of others both during and beyond the holiday season.
Volunteering your time at a soup kitchen, teaching a child to read, visiting a patient in a hospital, or taking a meal to an elderly neighbor or a shut-in are all simple acts of compassion that can brighten someone's life. Every act of love and generosity, however small it may seem, is significant.
Finally, the Bushes have their own significant additional reason to be celebrating this holiday weekend, and celebrate they will with a special party on the Prairie Chapel Ranch tonight for the Bush twins. Jenna and Barbara turned 21 this past Monday. Reporting live from Crawford, Texas, near the President's Ranch, James Rosen, Fox News. Back to Bob, Dari, Carol, and Alice.
Yes, and James, I assume that at least one of the Bush girls is going to be celebrating that 50-20 win by UT yesterday.
Probably, no doubt, a cause for celebration inside the Prairie Chapel Ranch. You're exactly right, Bob.
I'll leave that one alone. Thank you, James Rosen. son of a Pakistani nuclear scientist says Osama bin Laden approached his father about making nuclear weapons. The son says this happened months before the September 11th attacks and that his father refused to help the terror mastermind make a nuclear bomb.
Reports today Saudis may have been in contact with members of the Hamburg terror cell, the group accused of helping to carry out the 9/11 attacks. A German magazine saying German spy agencies traced a number of phone calls allegedly from that cell to Saudi Arabia. The calls reportedly made by a guy who's actually on trial in Hamburg, charged with helping the terrorists. And some of our troops in Afghanistan feeling a little sick after this Thanksgiving. It seems turkey stuffing from the holiday meal may have given the soldiers food poisoning. 79 U.S. and 25 Romanian soldiers became ill Thursday night near the city of Kandahar. The guys were not feeling well for about 24 hours. Sanitation crews now are checking out the kitchen where the Thanksgiving meal was prepared. And here back home, Disney will have to scrub its ship Magic a little bit better this time. Remember the story? This after another 200 passengers got sick at sea. Now the mouse company says it's canceling Magic's next voyage, giving crews a chance to clean up the infected areas. It is the third cancellation this year because of illness. And coming up straight ahead.
You can have a watch list of people. You can restrict persons' rights to aviation.
The whole notion of doing random searches is fine because it is at random. That means that, you have a system by which that is done. What is not acceptable is to profile people without probable cause.
The debate over the so-called airline blacklist continues. We'll explain who's on it and how it will affect air travel.
Plus, we'll explore a possible al-Qaeda link to the attacks on Israelis in Kenya. Is this also the work of Osama bin Laden? You're watching the Network for Real Journalism, Fair and Balanced.
The creator of Titanic and the director of Erin Brockovich take you on a journey critics are calling brilliant, sensuous, the most romantic movie of the millennium. Am I awake? Yes. 2 thumbs up.
She can feel, touch.
That's not your wife. She's alive. Rolling Stone calls it a mind-bending, hypnotic love story. Leave. You'll die here.
Are you going to stop me from taking her back?
Solaris, rated PG-13, now playing only in theaters.
Tired of playing the mortgage rate game? You know, when you hear one of those ads that promise you the moon and you call up only to find out that the points are too high and there are hidden fees attached? Well, at Ditech.com, there are no games. Right now, we're offering a second mortgage with a no closing cost option. You can be pre-qualified over the telephone or online. Use the money to pay off credit cards or for home improvements, whatever you want. Do it now before the rates go up. Ditech.com. Call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Hello? Hey, it's your dad.
I'm at the electronics store, and
I think I made a big mistake.
You're kidding.
I was already here. PCs were right there. It looked so easy. But if I don't get some help,
Dad,
I should have just listened to you. They don't even have what I'm looking for.
Dad, I told you. For your perfect PC, just call Dell, and they'll help you get the PC you need at a great price. It's easy.
I don't need a candy cane.
Hold on, I'll get you some help. That's my father. You're pretty much his only hope.
Thank you for calling Dell, Mr. Sabian.
I'm on the phone.
Stop it. Call or go online now and get a Dimension desktop with a flat panel display for just $6.99 after a $100 mail-in rebate. Featuring an Intel Pentium 4 processor for today's digital entertainment, recording music, sharing photos, gaming, and beyond. Right now, you'll get free shipping. Get great deals on notebooks, too.
Could you get me a Dell?
For holiday shopping done smart, it's easy as Dell. Dell PCs use Intel Pentium 4 processors.
Welcome back, 14 after the hour. Police in Kenya are questioning 10 foreigners about the deadly bomb and missile attacks on Israeli tourists. Now, word from Washington, Kenya, and Israel is that al-Qaeda and a Somali-based Islamic group are the prime suspects. So is this the work of Osama bin Laden's terror network? Terrorism specialist Brian Jenkins is not convinced of that yet, and he joins us now to talk about it. Brian, by the way, is a terrorism expert and senior advisor to the president of the RAND Corporation. Thanks so much for being with us, Brian. Question, synchronicity of attacks, the aiming towards hundreds of civilians, sophisticated weapons, all have the marks of being Al-Qaeda. What do you say about this?
Well, that's true, but they also have the same characteristics of the attacks carried out by other terrorist organizations. In fact, if we look at the geographic location of the attack, the identity and nationality of the target, if we look at the means used, the modus operandi, the relevance to recent threats, we could just as easily conclude that these were Palestinian extremists or something connected perhaps to Hezbollah in Lebanon or some other combination of groups.
Yeah, but Brian, was Al-Qaeda not said to be responsible for the attacks in April on the Tunisian synagogue? And also, Al-Qaeda, or at least Osama bin Laden, has spoken out about Israelis, about alleged injustice against Palestinians. I mean, perhaps they could be widening. Also, Mombasa and Eastern Africa are known to be a stronghold for Al-Qaeda.
Well, Mombasa, first of all, has a large Arab community, and within that Arab community, there are a number of extremists who have, over the years, supported some of these radical causes. Not simply Al-Qaeda, but also some of the more extremist Palestinian organizations. In fact, we go back 20 years. There was an attack, a bomb at a hotel, which killed 16 people in Kenya more than 20 years ago. I'm not suggesting that Al-Qaeda be ruled out as a suspect, but it's interesting to note even the shift in language over the last 48 hours. 48 hours ago, it was an automatic presumption that this must be Al-Qaeda. Now we're hearing language that Al-Qaeda cannot be ruled out, but we also may have some other groups that are involved either on their own or potentially in some sort of amalgamation with Al-Qaeda operatives.
Now, when you're talking about that, could you be referring to this Somali extremist group, Al-Ittihad al-Islamiyya?
That's a possibility. Some of the arrests are leading some of the analysts to point in that direction. These investigations, as they move on, tend to move in different directions. It's always very, very perilous to make an immediate assumption about who's responsible until the investigation evolves a little bit. However, the fact is that while we may not find out who was responsible and who they were connected with days or potentially even weeks from now, by that time it will be firmly established in the public's mind that Al-Qaeda was behind this, and that suits bin Laden's aims.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Let's just say it is in fact Al-Qaeda. What does this say about them? Are they strengthening their position considering the fact of what happened in October in Bali, 190 people dead, and then this incident?
I don't know that they are strengthening their position. I think we are finding out that they had operational capabilities. They were suspected of having operational capabilities worldwide. We're finding out just how extensive those are. But again, when we talk about the Al-Qaeda network, we should not have in our mind some sort of a James Bondian villain that centrally controls violence worldwide. This is a galaxy of relationships of many groups, and since September 11th, it has operated on a much more decentralized basis than before. Yes. So a lot of these attacks are carried out at local initiative.
Brian, what do we do when Al-Qaeda has a presence on the continent of Africa, in Europe, in Indonesia? How in the world do you focus on weeding them out when they seem to have arms everywhere?
It will be a lengthy process. I think our political leadership has pointed to that. The analysts who deal with this topic have pointed out that this is going to take years to dismantle this network. We're not going to be able to apprehend every last individual. We're not going to be able to prevent every single terrorist attack. But by really deconstructing, by pulling this thing apart, by dismantling it, we hope to be able to drive the violence well below some of the capabilities that were demonstrated in attacks like those on September 11th.
Well, let's certainly hope so. Brian Jenkins, terrorism expert and senior advisor to the president of the RAND Corporation. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet. Bob.
The Fed's warning of a new danger to commercial airplanes. Could a missile attack like the one that failed in Kenya succeed with one of our planes? We'll have a live report coming up. But first, remember when doctors used to make house calls, or when a real person actually picked up the phone at your doctor's office? What happened to all that? Special report with Fox RX straight ahead on Fox News Channel. Real journalism, fair and balanced.
This program is brought to you by Zenith, the ultimate authority in high-definition TV.
I told you this thing was awesome. The world's first 60-inch plasma HD TV from Zenith. An epic experience just 4 inches deep. From the high-definition authority, Zenith.
You know, hon, you could always stay with Fran and Carl. Ah, you think I'm a hotel?
Maybe we should just get a room when we get into town. We're booked. Why don't we call your brother Jeff? He's always traveling.
And always on short notice.
The best deals? It's a no-brainer. Hotels.com. Hotels.com.
Save on thousands of hotels worldwide. Yes! Hotels.com. The best prices at the best places, guaranteed.
Is it Christmas yet?
It is, with this special television offer from America's #1 Christmas artist, Mannheim Steamroller. Be the first to order the newest release, Mannheim Steamroller's Christmas Extraordinaire. And as a special gift, we'll pay all shipping and handling charges. That's $4.95 less than any other television music offer. Plus, we'll send you Chip Davis's holiday music absolutely free. That's 2 CDs for the price of 1 with free shipping and handling. Mannheim Steamroller has been bringing joy to the holiday season for over 20 years and has sold more than 20 million Christmas albums. Order Mannheim Steamroller's Christmas Extraordinaire and receive absolutely free a second CD, Chip Davis's holiday music. That's 2 CDs for the price of 1. Plus, when you call right now, get free shipping and handling. Call the number on your screen to order.
Hi, Leo Hillier, Hillier's Mid-City Ford, once again from our family to yours, wishing you a safe and happy holiday season. In the past 9 years, many of your family and friends have made Hillier's Mid-City Ford their choice for their transportation needs. With our 2002s mostly sold and our largest 2003 holiday inventory ever, we will be competitive on every new Ford sale. Remember, all Fords are created equal. Hillier's Mid-City Ford makes the difference. We invite you to come see why.
Great ideas surround you, things that make you smile, inspiration all around you. Fill your life with style, find your perfect fashion. Craft Warehouse is the place, your home, your heart, the smile on your face. Discover your creativity, the Craft Warehouse.
An influential legal organization is proposing some big, sweeping changes to family law. Among the changes, the American Law Institute is advocating that a person's sexual orientation should have no bearing whatsoever on a person's ability to get custody of kids, and gay couples should be treated just like any married couple. The Institute, which is not supposed to be ideological, I'll try to say that, also suggests that even if a spouse commits adultery, that should not affect how much he or she should get in alimony. The group also thinks courts should not merely look to the best interests of the child in making custody decisions. Now, while these are just recommendations, many states have followed the ALI guidance in the past, and the organization is credited with having an immense influence on the development of American law over the past 75 years. The latest recommendation, though, is being criticized by some as a radical effort to undermine the institution of marriage.
Ever have a doctor house call? Well, they are about as common as the milkman these days. I don't think I've ever had one. The so-called family physician is going the way of the dodo. So what happened? But as Fox News correspondent Claudia Cowan found out, there is some hope.
How's your diabetes been these days? Though it's hard for some to imagine, there was a time not so long ago when doctors came to you. For the most part, those days are gone, even though the nation's 126 medical schools continue to churn out thousands of MDs. So what happened?
There isn't enough money to justify a physician to leave his or her office and venture into the home on a regular basis.
Dr. Joseph Spooner runs a California HMO. He says waiting rooms exist because it's the only way practicing medicine is economically viable.
One has to recognize that overhead is extremely high in a doctor's office. With malpractice, paying for staff, not to mention the lease on an office, a physician has to ask themselves the question every time, should I see 20 patients in the office or should I see 4 or 5 patients in their home?
But it's not just time and money that have eliminated the house call. It's new technology that's expensive and bulky.
You wouldn't have imaging capabilities like an MRI and any kind of surgical procedures, repair of lacerations, biopsies, things of that nature obviously couldn't be done in a home setting.
Check those consoles now.
Gone, too, is the solo practitioner. The mountain of accounting and paperwork required by insurance companies can be handled much more efficiently in a group practice. A solution, members say, that's good for patients, too, because there's always someone available to see them.
If you have a sore throat or a cold or a bladder infection, frequently it doesn't matter whether you see your own doctor or you see your doctor's partner, as long as you are confident that the quality of care you're receiving is good.
But now, a few doctors are bucking the trend, traveling to treat the ill in their homes. Dr. Henri Becker says it's cost-effective for him to make house calls.
I'm here to see Mom.
Yeah. His only overhead, his cell phone and car. And treating the elderly at home allows him to spot and treat an illness before it progresses to a point where his patients require expensive hospital stays. It's also a better healing environment.
We come to their home, sit on the kitchen table, have a coffee with them. We look at their pictures on the wall. We know the name of their pets. So in a way, they become, we become part of their life as they become part of our lives.
While most house calls are a thing of the past, virtual home visits are on the rise. Increases in hospital-grade equipment, video conferencing, and remote healthcare monitoring are all pointing to a new trend called telemedicine. Technology bringing your family doctor back home.
Doesn't she look good?
In San Francisco, Claudia Cowan, Fox News.
All right, airport security beefed up since 9/11, definitely, but a new plan that puts certain people on a blacklist has lots seeing red. Find out why in a fair and balanced report.
And then a failed missile attack on that Israeli jetliner in Kenya. Well, that's raising fears that a similar strike could actually succeed and U.S. planes could be the target. How vulnerable are we?
Also, it was a hard day's night for the 2 surviving Beatles, Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, with a special tribute to the late George Harrison. We'll take you there and tell you how much Harrison was really worth. Stay with us.
You've always thought, separate cuts, separate tools, right? Well, now there's a single tool that cuts them all. You got to hear about this. The all-in-one cutting tool. It's a great value from Craftsman, the #1 quality brand in America. Has a 5-amp 2-speed motor that just powers through wood, drywall, tile, plexiglass. Plus, you get 4 easily changeable quick-release attachments. Complete projects in no time.
Come on, Bob. How fast can it really be?
Take a look. This freestyle attachment has precise rack and pinion depth control. Plunge right in and go in any direction. Finish jobs, all kinds of jobs, quicker than ever.
What if I need a detailed cut?
Use the side assist handle for greater control and precision. There's even a special built-in work light to help you see. The Craftsman All-in-One's a great tool for anyone, from do-it-yourselfers to serious woodworkers. Includes 4 attachments, 2 collet adapters, 2 bits, and a storage case, all for only $59.99.
Yeah, but what about those tricky circle cuts?
The circle attachment lets you cut precise 4 to 12-inch circles. Quickly install recessed lighting or audio speakers.
Well, I bet it does an angle.
Angle cut? Just use the exclusive plunge bevel router base. It carves and angle cuts. Add this flex shaft accessory and you've got yourself a rotary tool. Does fine detail work for hobbies and crafts. It's easy. The Craftsman all-in-one cutting tool. 5-amp 2-speed motor. 4 attachments and storage case, just $59.99.
Bob, could this tool make me a Bob Vila?
Well,
it made me a Bob Vila.
The all-in-one cutting tool. Another way Craftsman makes anything possible.
Call now to order the Craftsman all-in-one cutting tool. Only $59.99. 1-800-453-4500.
Saturday, funneling money to terrorists. How do they do it? How can we stop it? John Seeing Red and Following the Green. From the Heartland with John Kasich. Plus, the world's most wanted man hiding in plain sight. We show you what Osama could look like if he went under the knife. At Large with Geraldo Rivera. Then conflicts in the no-fly zone. Playing cat and mouse with the UN. A possible war with the U.S. Read his exclusive interview with the Iraqi ambassador. Fox Wire with Rita Cosby. Saturday on the Fox News Channel.
UN inspectors seem to have the element of surprise today. They visited a military post 50 miles north of Baghdad. Again, they're keeping quiet about what they've found. After 3 hours, an Iraqi escort told reporters the post housed a unit equipped to counter chemical attacks. Another team went to a complex that's part of Iraq's Military Industrial Commission, which oversees Saddam's nuclear arms program.
Astronauts on the Space Shuttle Endeavour have just one more spacewalk left before they head back home. They are wrapping up work on a new girder for the International Space Station, and you're actually looking at live pictures right now of the astronauts working on that new girder. One American astronaut and 2 Russian cosmonauts will leave, pack up, and head home after a 6-month stay aboard the station. Now, the new crew will stay in orbit until at least March. Once again, amazing pictures.
Cool.
Hung up between 2 warp zones.
She played Harrison Ford's daughter in Air Force One and is also one of the heirs to the Hyatt hotel chain. Now actress Liesl Matthews is using some of her own force. The 18-year-old is suing her father and other relatives, saying they drained her trust fund of more than, get this, $1 billion. Yes, $1 billion. Her family controls an estimated fortune of $15 billion.
Well, thank goodness it didn't work in Kenya, but could a missile attack on an airliner here in the U.S. work? The feds are warning airports to be prepared. A live report now from correspondent Doug Luzader in our Washington newsroom. Doug.
That's right. That attack on the Israeli jetliner has U.S. officials worried about a similar type of attack here. In fact, officials from the Transportation Safety Administration have met with the airlines to discuss this very type of threat. Now, let's take a look at the type of missiles that we're talking about. These are shoulder-launched, heat-seeking missiles. In the most recent case, old Soviet-designed SA-7s. These are not terribly difficult for terrorist groups to get their hands on, but they are somewhat problematic. In the case of the Israeli jetliner on Thursday, 2 of the missiles missed their mark. Military experts say that could be due in part to the age of the missiles, which were probably built back in the 70s. Nevertheless, U.S. airports are clearly at risk.
You might need a passive perimeter of some sort of security around airports, especially on the takeoff and approach plan of any airport. You know, it's very easy for someone to pull up in there with a van and jump out with 2 SA-14s or SA-18s and take a couple shots and take off.
It really could be just that easy, but there is the question of training. U.S. troops, for instance, are taught to fire shoulder-launched missiles by launching live rounds. And terrorists probably do not have that option and may be largely unskilled. However, modern heat-seeking missiles can be much more effective and allow inexperienced individuals to achieve really lethal hits. Now, as for protecting U.S. airliners, there are some options, but they are not cheap. Jets can be equipped with missile countermeasures, which can fire flares in the event of an attack. The flares create essentially a second heat source, which can confuse heat-seeking missiles. There are also laser systems, which can disable missile guidance systems. For the financially ailing U.S. airlines, though, cost could be a significant issue. We should also add that intelligence officials believe that an attack of this nature is much more unlikely here in the United States than in other countries such as Kenya. Nevertheless, officials from the TSA are meeting with the airlines to work out some kind of strategy. That's the latest here live from Washington. I'm Doug Luzader. Back to you in New York.
Thank you, sir. Stuffies and quahogs, both New England delicacies. That's good eating. Well, they're back on the menu in Boston, known simply as clams in other parts of the country. Local variety has been in short supply. That's because the clam diggers were evicted after the 9/11 attacks from prime digging flats around Boston's Logan Airport. They're now allowed to return, but the diggers have to submit a security check and fingerprinting before getting a license to dig.
Well, wherever you are, I certainly hope you've noticed that airport security has really tightened since 9/11. But others may not have noticed such a change. Well, now there is a new system in place to sift through passengers and weed out the ones that are considered dangerous. Trace Gallagher takes a fair and balanced look at this controversial new plan.
Even after 9/11, most of the flying public gets waved right through security. Many undergo a bit more scrutiny, and now some will get the third degree. They'll be thoroughly questioned, searched, even barred from flying altogether. The Transportation Security Administration has established a blacklist, names of more than 1,000 passengers who are considered a threat to aviation.
You can have a watch list of people. You can restrict persons' rights to aviation only with a reasonable basis.
But some don't think there's anything reasonable about the list. Ron Daniels, executive director for the Center for Constitutional Rights, calls it an outright violation of civil liberties.
The whole notion of doing random searches is fine because it is at random. That means that, you have a system by which that is done. What is not acceptable is to profile people without probable cause that they have either engaged in an act or are likely to do so.
The list focuses mainly on violent felons, suspected terrorists, and identity thieves. But they're also on the lookout for people involved in aggressive or violent protests, who attack police, storm buildings, or jump fences. Critics say the feds are cracking down on activism, not terrorism.
It's about intimidation. It's about having a chilling effect on protests and demonstrations in relationship to the policy.
The Transportation Security Administration says they don't have a problem with peaceful protesters, but aggressive activists pose more of a threat. And they say the horrible events of September 11th highlight the need for increased security measures. Aviation experts agree, saying, in this day and age, it's important to widen our net.
Fugitives, persons who have committed crimes, people who have committed assault and battery, those are threats.
And if you show signs of violence on the ground, you may have trouble getting in the air. In Los Angeles, Trace Gallagher, Fox News.
All right, coming up straight ahead, this could have huge implications. The Saudi saga continues as there could be another possible link to terrorism.
And then they're rude, they're crude, they fight all the time, and they got a show. Ozzie and Sharon starting all over again. We'll explain when Fox News Live continues.
Still scratching that itchy scalp? Scratching isn't healthy for it. Maximum Strength Scalpicin promotes a healthier scalp. It stops itching, stops scratching, clear, odorless, with the medicine doctors recommend. Promote a healthier scalp with Scalpicin.
My brother Danny and me. He got a new truck. I got a bigger one. I've got a family. He's got a bigger one. Then my doctor tells me to start taking an aspirin every day for my heart. Just one tiny little St. Joseph aspirin. So maybe bigger isn't always better. Try telling him that.
And counting. The 210 horsepower supercharged Nissan Xterra.
Hi, Billy Mays here for Orange Glow, wood cleaner and polish. Discover the secret of pure orange oil. It cleans, it polishes, and helps protect all at the same time. Use it on different types of wood, like cherry, oak, maple, and walnut. Wood dries out. Orange Glow helps keep it looking new. It puts down an invisible shield that helps protect your wood from water spots and stains. Orange Glow leaves a smooth surface and a lustrous shine. Other cleaners don't always cut the grease. Orange Glow wipes away this grease pencil without damaging the surface. When you call, you'll get not one, but 2 bottles of our Orange Glow. We'll also include a bottle of our multi-purpose cleaner, Orange Clean. You get all this, not $20, only $12.99. Here's how to order.
Call now and for only $12.99 you get not one but 2 16-ounce bottles of the Orange Glow wood cleaner, 1 22-ounce bottle of the multi-purpose cleaner, 1 cleaning sponge. Call 1-800-852-0170.
Once again, the Saudis are in the spotlight. Besides that money trail we all know about, there's the report now of a phone trail. Reports overseas that Germany's spy agency has traced a number of phone calls made to the kingdom, the Saudi kingdom, calls that were made by a Moroccan man who's now on trial for helping the Hamburg terror cell. So what's really going on with the Saudis these days? Joining us to talk about this, former U.S. ambassador to Egypt, to the United Arab Emirates, and to Israel, Edward Walker. Certainly a great resume to talk about this topic. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Give us your feel. How do we assess all this with the Saudis?
Well, part of the problem is the Saudis have a system in which they're, by their religion, required to give to charitable organizations, and some of those charities have filtered money off to terrorists. Now, nobody was paying a whole lot of attention to this before September 11th. We weren't pushing terribly hard either. I mean, this goes way back. I remember when I was in Saudi Arabia, stationed in Saudi Arabia, we had raised questions about individual Saudis donating money to organizations that were supporting Algerian terrorists. But there was no real pressure on the Saudis to do anything about it, and they had no system to track this type of donation. So now what I think should be happening, what I hope is happening, and what the Saudis say is happening, is that they are putting in place the kind of structure that will allow them to track this kind of donation and make sure that it's going to legitimate charitable reasons.
Do you think they have that ability? Do they have that?
I don't think they have that yet. I'm not even sure we have it. Yeah. You know, it's very hard to track individual donations, particularly when you got bank accounts all over the place.
Okay, let's leave that aside for a second. How fearful is the Saudi family of that growing mass beneath them, if you will, the have-nots, the 75% under 30, the 30% unemployed that are not part of that rich and powerful oligarchy? Are they afraid of what could be a revolution down the line?
Well, I've talked to a number of the senior Saudi princes, and they are very concerned about what's going on in Saudi Arabia. They're concerned about their educational system. They're concerned that Saudi Arabia is no longer a wealthy country and cannot give its citizens everything that was promised in the past. They're concerned about this large group of young people coming into the workforce without jobs, and they're looking for ways that they can deal with these problems.
And does this give them incentive because of that concern in which they might try to appease what is a growing radical Muslim population and maybe look the other way while certain things happen?
I don't know. You know, the Saudis, there's a fairly substantial number of Saudis who have always been very devout Muslims and fundamentalist in their overall approach to the religion. That's not really new. And what usually works best in a situation like this is for them to create the jobs, to get the investment, and so on. That would be contradictory to appeasing in organizations that were terrorist in nature. Saudis need help from the outside. They need help from the West. They need the United States. It's not the time for them to start appeasing terrorists.
Okay, then let's say they need our help to head off what could be a revolution that they're concerned about. What should we be doing to help them? Because obviously the administration made a decision. These are our guys. We got to work with them, even though it's not a perfect situation. Not a democracy, obviously. You're talking about economic help. What should the U.S. do?
Well, in the first place, I think we should help them get the kinds of structures that will allow them to keep track of the kinds of the money flow and the donations so that they're not being diverted into wrongful hands. But also, I think that we can help in the identification of job-creating investments that might be of use in Saudi Arabia to diversify the oil, encourage them to move away from state controls of certain industries and to bring the private sector more actively into Saudi Arabia.
Now, having said that, that sounds like a great idea for somebody who doesn't hate the United States, but does that just create a mass of have-nots who now start to get some access to money and they still hate the United States?
Well, we're going to have a certain amount of resentment of the United States no matter where we are in the Middle East or probably in much of the world, because we are the superpower, we are wealthy. We also have a great deal of resentment at this particular time because of the Palestinian issue, and so many people in the region are personally sympathetic to the plight of the Palestinians. They get sort of a very different picture of what's going on.
You know, I'm running out of time, sir, and I really apologize interrupting you. If you had to, in one sentence, say one thing the U.S. should do right now, what should it be?
Well, for one thing, we should stop blaming the Saudis for everything that's going on. We should work with them to get the right structure in place and try to help them with their problems in their education and economy.
Sir, I appreciate that. Former U.S. Ambassador to Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and Israel, Edward Walker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And coming up straight ahead, the Osbournes Unplugged, America's most crude and rude family, telling us what they're going to do for their New Year's. Plus, remembering George Harrison, folks paying tribute to the late Beatle, and now new information about what he left in his will. That's next on the network America Trusts, Fox News.
Something amazing is happening. It will change the way you bake your cookies, sweeten your cereal, even drink your coffee. It's Splenda no-calorie sweetener. It's made from sugar, so it tastes like sugar, but it's not sugar. It's Splenda no-calorie sweetener. Pretty amazing, huh?
All American Truck and SUV Accessory Centers have it all.
Need something to dress up your vehicle?
Want to look a little different?
Like to add that personal touch to your rig?
Want to choose from 6 lines of canopies?
Come see the experts at any of our 6 All-American locations. You don't have to travel all over town to find what you want.
At All American, if we don't have it, we know where to get it.
See the pros at All-American Truck and SUV Accessory Centers.
For all your truck and SUV needs.
Deck the halls with great savings from Bassett.
It's the holiday home sale at Bassett Furniture Direct. Save 20% on the entire Options Contemporary collection. Choose the finish for your bedroom or dining room. It's all on sale. And save $100 on any Simply Yours sofa. Choose your fabric, tailor your base, arms, and pillows.
A custom sofa ready for delivery in 30 days, guaranteed.
Plus, get 0% interest for 6 months. Bassett's Home Holiday Sale.
Going on now.
The fight for every inch begins here. From the opening kick to the final gun. From Happy Valley to the Egg Bowl. The best runs, the hardest hits, the most excitement. From fall to finish, college football on ESPN and ESPN2.
Sponsored by 105.9 The River, First Class Run.
If a picture is worth 1,000 words, look at this. It's Town & Country's Big Easy year-end sale. Every vehicle at every location is on sale. T&C has vehicles at up to $9,000 off MSRP and 0% available on select makes and models. Let us help you suit your needs and budget at the Big Easy year-end sale. These will be Town & Country's best prices of the year. It's simply the best way to save. Wherever you're going, let us get you there. Town & Country. Drive home happy.
A Fox News alert, you're looking from a helmet cam way above Earth as one of the astronauts on the Space Shuttle Endeavour continues to work on the International Space Station. This is either Michael Lopez Alegria or John Harrington, both of whom are now involved in a spacewalk. They're trying to address some of the problems they have up there with the cooling system. And specifically, Derry, in case you wanted to know, they're trying to ensure that the quick disconnect fittings in the station's ammonia coolant lines release as designed.
Sounds very tacky.
This is Harrington, by the way, John Harrington. And they're up there on this walk. They've been out there since, I know that we have known about them since about 20 after the hour, so it's been at least a half hour they're out there. And they've had some problems with the previous walk with one of the motorized trolleys. I'm sure they have to address that as well to help move the robotic arm from one site to another. Again, this is one of the Space Shuttle astronauts on Endeavour, John Harrington, in a spacewalk, and we'll keep tabs as this progresses.
Let's talk about which...
I hope you don't live in a town like this. They are cloaked in the dust. Griffith, Australia, dry as a bone and engulfed in a huge dust storm, blinded motorists and who had to drive with their headlights on. Just take a look at that. Nothing new there, though. They are used to this. Folks who live in Griffith say the dusty storms have become a regular part of their life in that drought-stricken part of New South Wales. Just incredible. Now, a bit closer to home, I hope there are no dust storms there, a cold blast moving through the Midwest this holiday weekend, and the lake effect is certainly turning on. Let's get some more information about this. Your Foxcast, that is, from Colin Marquis.
Yes, hi there, and you're absolutely right. The lake effect is going to be one of the big stories as we head through the remainder of this holiday travel period. Not much else to talk about precipitation-wise, but we will be talking about the lake effect and the chill across the east. So here's the national satellite and radar, and all the blue and white you see on your screen is some snow, localized, very heavy snow squalls in the lee of the Great Lakes. If you live up there, you know how it works. Well, one town can get a foot, and the other town 5 miles away, well, not too much. As far as the temperatures are concerned, we are talking about some very cold temperatures, teens and 20s in the Midwest, 40s and 50s for the east, but for tomorrow we turn it around in the east, 10 to 20 degrees colder as compared to today, and a wrap-up of your Saturday night, Sunday period. Again, locally heavy squalls in the lee of the lakes. I think Cleveland, Buffalo, and probably Syracuse, some of the big cities that will be most affected by that locally very heavy snow. Otherwise, just very cold for the Midwest and into the east for Saturday night and into Sunday. Derry?
All right, Colin, let's hope they can get their shopping done. Well, the holiday shopping season, speaking of that, I guess maybe you want to talk about it, or I'll keep talking about it. If you are looking to buy your kids' video games, you may be in for quite a shock. Believe it or not, the hottest sellers are cashing in on violence.
You've heard the expression, sex sells. Well, so does violence when it comes to video games. It's graphic and it's big business. Last year, U.S. sales of computer and video games nearly reached the $6.5 billion mark. The upcoming holiday season is bringing digital mayhem to stores with a mob of adult-themed games, and people of all ages are buying them up. Grand Theft Auto Vice City features a sniper. Silent Scope emphasizes killing enemies with a single shot from a sniper rifle. Easter Plaza, repeat, Easter Plaza. In Hitman 2 Silent Assassin, players can become contract killers. And here's another, Max Payne, another big gun game where killing is the only objective.
The more innocent the person you kill, the more points you get.
Kathy Cowan is a mother of 4. Her rule is simple when it comes to her youngest boys, 11-year-old Michael and 7-year-old Patrick. No sniper games.
I think it does two things. One, it gives them something to mimic, and kids like to play act, and they think it's exciting and they think it's fun. And two, it inures them to the idea that violence and hurting other people is an entertainment.
What about the boys?
Do you feel like you're missing out by not having the violent games?
No, I don't like violent games.
Well, there's one less headache for Mom, but someone's buying these games.
Everyone likes them. Well, the kids who can actually talk their parents into getting them.
And Dr. Ted Feinberg worries about those kids. He's with the National Association of School Psychologists.
By the time children are 16 or 17, they have been exposed to over 250,000 representations of violence.
And there the controversy lies. Are children influenced by the violence, even if it is only make-believe?
Many in the field believe that when children see this amount of violence, that they do in fact become desensitized, that they lose perspective.
The Interactive Digital Software Association issued this statement in response. In part it reads, there is no persuasive evidence that has been produced anywhere by anyone that violent games lead to violent behavior. That's the opinion of the Surgeon General. The fact is that as video game sales have boomed these last 5 years, the rate of violent crime and youth crime has fallen. The evidence may not back up the claims of a correlation between violent-themed games and real acts of violence, but recent events like the serial sniper shootings, even the September 11th attacks, have directly impacted the limits some parents are setting for their children.
I think that's forced us, kids and adults alike, to really look at the world around us and say, what is going on? What should our values be?
In Washington, Will Thomas, Fox 5 News.
Well, there is an alternative to all that. All You Need Is Love. Yes, a concert dedicated to the late George Harrison.
Can you roll up? Ringo Starr and Sir Paul McCartney reuniting to remember Harrison 1 year after he died. The emotional event also featuring Eric Clapton and Joe Cocker. 5,000 fans sharing in the memories. The concert for George raising money for the Material World Foundation. That is an organization founded by Harrison himself.
Yes, and all those girls did more than just scream. They actually went out and bought the records. Speaking of Mr. Harrison, it seems a former Beatle left a fab fortune. Court documents say Harrison left an estate worth a whopping $155 million. No word yet on how that money will be distributed, but apparently none of the money is going to the Hare Krishnas. Earlier reports had said that he was going to donate more than $20 million to the faith that he embraced back in the 60s. Now, the Osbournes, they've become America's favorite dysfunctional family.
Well, now they've got some special plans for New Year's Eve, and our entertainment guy, Bill McCuddy, knows exactly what it is.
They may be dysfunctional, but they obviously care a great deal about one another. The family that spews four-letter words along with affection says if Mom loses her hair, they'll cut off theirs too. Ozzy Osbourne, Kelly, and Jack will all shave their heads bald if Sharon's cancer treatments claim her locks. Sharon jokes they'll be called the Ozbalds. And there is word that no matter what, Ozzy and Sharon will renew their wedding vows New Year's Eve in front of a small gathering, 600 people. It'll be the couple's, should we say the odd couple's, 20th anniversary. They're writing their own vows, so expect a lot of bleeping if this thing ends up on MTV. Speaking of which, their Tuesday night debut drew a little more than 6.5 million viewers. Impressive, but nowhere near the series high of 10 million. Marriages involve blood tests, and there is good news on that front. Sharon Osbourne's colon cancer is no longer detectable in blood tests, and the chemo treatments, which had been scheduled until April, will end in February. Wondering if our own Greta Van Susteren will be at the New Year's Bash, I'm Bill McCuddy, Fox News.
All right, we've got a lot more coming in our next hour. Al Gore on the attack and the targets. Folks in the media, us. Stay tuned for a fair and balanced debate.
And more of our up-close coverage of the weapons inspections. A live report from Baghdad coming up right here on the network that America trusts for real journalism, fair and balanced.
One day at a time, sweet Jesus, I believe in angels. You were always on my mind.
Call now and you get Christie's 24 hits, some of the biggest songs of all time, absolutely free on this special offer.
You know Christy Lane is the top-selling TV artist in the world, but what you don't know is how she got where she is now. At the tender age of 14, her dreams were shattered, but she kept on going.
After you read this book, you realize what makes Christy Lane such a special artist. The sensitivity she developed by overcoming such adversity is reflected not only in her singing, but in her life story.
The Vietnam experience will live with Christy forever. She performed over 120 shows and almost lost her life.
I put in my time in Vietnam, but I wasn't the only soldier there. There was another soldier, Christy Lane. Through her song, she brought comfort and pleasure to thousands of soldiers. Her story could be an inspiration to all of you who need to find a new way.
Through her faith and the support of her husband and family, she bucked incredible odds.
I could almost feel her pain and the courage it took as she stepped out on the stage and sang at the prison where her husband was an inmate.
One Day at a Time is an easy book to read. It's already sold over 1 million copies. If you read only one book this year, make it One Day at a Time.
A friend told me to read Christy Lane's life story, and I hesitated. But once I started, I just couldn't put it down. It'd make a great movie.
One day at a time.
Call now and you also get Christy's 24 greatest hits, some of the biggest songs of all time, absolutely free on CD or cassette, or mail your check for $9.99 plus shipping to Christy Lane, Madison, Tennessee. Call 1-800-249-8900. They make a beautiful gift for someone you love.
Saturday.
Saudis are going to continue to try to get away with as much as they can.
Is this U.S. ally really the enemy in our war on terror? The shocking answer, the Beltway Boys. Plus, from possible terror attacks to the sniper case, is the media reporting the news or hyping up the facts? The controversial debate. Fox News Watch, Saturday on the Fox News Channel. Sunday, exclusive from the USS Harry Truman. They're strong, they're courageous, risking their lives for their country. The men and women on board America's most powerful ship. It's all on Fox Magazine.
Fox out front of inspectors doing things a bit differently this time. We'll tell you about their latest stop in the hunt for Saddam's weapons of mass destruction. Plus, trying to link al-Qaeda to this week's attacks on Israelis. Can investigators make the connection? Then a call to sacrifice. Some calling the president Scrooge this holiday season. But he says it's a matter of national security and we all must do our part. We'll tell you what he's talking about. Also spying on ourselves, a CIA-type agency designed to watch what we do, all to stop terror. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Derry Alexander in New York, along with Bob Sellers, and let's get right to our top story. And Steve Harrigan live for us in Baghdad. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Derry. On day 3 of their job here in Iraq, the weapons inspectors visited 3 different sites. Now, one of these was an army base about 50 miles north of the capital, Baghdad. This is a base, according to Iraqi officials, where there's a unit that specializes in defending against chemical attacks. The other 2 sites they visited were south of Baghdad. They were part of the military-industrial complex here in Iraq. One of them is called the Mother of All Battles. This, of course, is a name Iraq gave to the Gulf War. Now, at this site, part of a huge military-industrial complex, the inspectors went in, a lot of nuclear scientists, too, among the inspectors. They went into a site which has been previously inspected in the 1990s. Not only that, this site was also bombed by U.S. and British warplanes in 1998. Now, part of their work in there was collecting cameras and other monitoring devices that these inspectors left behind in the 1990s to see what has changed over that time period. So we've seen 3 days of work, and we're seeing the same pattern over and over again. The inspectors come out, they don't say what they found or what they haven't found, but often an Iraqi official, a general, or a plant manager will come out and say that they haven't found anything. One thing the inspectors are saying is that they are getting full cooperation from the Iraqis. Now, that could change down the road. We're likely to see a new reinforcement team of inspectors, at least 30 more coming in a week's time. So when they have a reinforced team, they may decide to go into more sensitive sites, and this air of cooperation could really be tested. Derry, back to you.
All right, Steve, thank you for that report. And a UN weapons inspector who now acknowledges being involved with S&M sex clubs is allowed to keep his job. Chief Inspector Hans Blix has rejected the Virginia man's resignation, but critics of Blix say that Jack McGeorge also lacks a specialized science degree. The UN responded McGeorge is, quote, a highly qualified and competent technical expert. The 53-year-old is a munitions analyst for the UN team and also a former Marine. Now, more than 300 American soldiers stationed at Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany heading to the Gulf. They'll take part in military exercises for at least 2 weeks. The Army says the exercise has been planned out for a year, but with a looming war with Iraq, some troops say they may stay in the Gulf a little bit longer than expected. And Australians protesting a possible war with Iraq. The demonstrators, are critical of the government contingency plans to join a U.S. strike. The protesters say their countrymen shouldn't confuse the need to get rid of terrorism with a preemptive strike on Iraq. Australia has lost heavily to terrorism. Most of the victims of that Bali nightclub bombing were from Australia.
Investigators in Kenya saying they do not know who's responsible for the dual attacks on Israelis, but they aren't ruling out Osama bin Laden's terror network. Jonathan Hunt has the latest from Jerusalem.
It's been another long day for Israeli investigators in Kenya doing what they can to fulfill the pledge made by Ariel Sharon, the Israeli Prime Minister, to hunt down the attackers. As the investigators sift through the rubble of the Paradise Hotel near Mombasa, suspicion is centering on two groups, Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda network and a Somali group called Al-Ittihad al-Islamiyah. U.S. officials say those two groups may have worked together to carry out the bombing attack and the failed rocket attack on an Israeli airliner. Now, 4 Somalis are among 10 people being questioned by the Kenyan authorities. The other 6 are Pakistanis. An American woman who was being held has been released. She apparently has no connection whatsoever with the attacks. In Mombasa today, a memorial service was held for all the victims of the bombing attack. The funerals of some of the Kenyans who died were also held. The State Department, meanwhile, has reiterated its concerns over terror attacks in Kenya, advising all American citizens there to remain vigilant. Back here, a 16-year-old Palestinian boy was shot and killed near Gaza City today. Witnesses said he was shot dead by Israeli troops, but the Israeli army says its soldiers merely fired warning shots into the air when a group of boys approached a border fence. That incident is now being investigated. In Jerusalem, Jonathan Hunt, Fox News.
Now, in just a few minutes, of course, that idea of a surface-to-air missile being shot at a plane is scary, very scary, especially for American jetliners. Are they vulnerable? We're going to examine what's being done to prevent such an attack here in the United States.
The son of a Pakistani nuclear scientist says Osama bin Laden approached his dad about making nuclear weapons. The son says this happened months before the September 11th attacks and that his father refused to help the terror mastermind make a nuclear bomb. And there is still some question as to whether bin Laden is still alive. We will talk more about the recent attacks in Kenya and if bin Laden's al-Qaeda network is behind them. That coming in just a few moments. Now, some of our troops in Afghanistan feeling a little sick after Thanksgiving. It seems turkey stuffing from the holiday meal may have given the soldiers food poisoning. 79 U.S. and 25 Romanian soldiers became ill Thursday night near the city of Kandahar. The guys were not feeling well for about 24 hours, and now sanitation crews are checking the kitchen where that Thanksgiving meal was prepared.
The administration is taking steps to make sure something like 9/11 never happens again. President Bush signed the Homeland Security bill this week and tapped former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger to head up a committee to investigate the terror attacks. Also, word today, the White House is changing some decades-old spying rules. But is all this putting our civil rights at risk? Live report now from correspondent Molly Hinneberg in Washington. Molly.
Hi, Bob. Yeah, critics say that's a big concern about losing our civil rights. For about 30 years, civil liberties that is, for about 30 years, there's been a pretty sturdy barrier preventing U.S. intelligence agencies from spying on Americans domestically. The CIA could do its thing overseas, but the FBI and law enforcement couldn't become Big Brother here at home. Those are the rules in the old game, the Cold War game, but now they may be changing. According to the New York Times, the Bush administration and some members of Congress are reviewing new ideas to overhaul the CIA and other agencies and make intelligence and law enforcement work more closely together. The FBI has been barred from spying on political or religious groups without evidence that they had committed a crime. and the Bureau couldn't monitor suspected terrorists without a special warrant. But 9/11 is forcing the government to rethink those procedures. A couple of things the administration is considering, according to the paper: the creation of a domestic spy agency. But that idea is pretty much on the back burner for now. Also up for discussion, getting our military involved in law enforcement, looking for terrorists, monitoring our borders, things like that. But that would be illegal under the law as it stands now. A couple of things that already have changed, though. A federal appeals court has eased some restrictions on the Justice Department, allowing them to spy on terror suspects in the U.S. more easily. Also, the new Homeland Security Department has its own intelligence office. President Bush signed a new department into existence on Monday. The new intelligence unit at this point is just supposed to be a small office set up to analyze data. But it could grow if the new department becomes more powerful. Elsewhere in the war on terror, the U.S. Secret Service is under immense pressure to protect America's leaders, including the president, vice president, and their families. But the service is going through some difficult times which could compromise security. So says a new article in U.S. News and World Report. For example, personnel shortages. The magazine says nearly 320 uniformed officers and more than 100 plainclothes agents have left in the past year. That leads to reduced training for new recruits who often are given high-pressure posts with less experience with guns and sometimes without completed background checks. And finally, the Secret Service officers are asked to do many hours of overtime. On average, U.S. News says, up to 90 hours a week per officer. The magazine also reveals numerous instances in the Secret Service of criminal and official misconduct, security lapses, and abuses of government authority. I'm Molly Henneberg in Washington. Bob, back to you in New York.
Thank you, Molly. Straight ahead, the president says it's now the season of service, and he wants your help. We've got a live report.
Then the world's most wanted man. Is he still alive? And is he behind the attacks in Kenya? On the Fox News Channel, the network for real journalism, fair and balanced.
This holiday season, it's time to get rolling because Cingular is changing the world of wireless by offering 1,000 anytime minutes for $39.99 and letting you keep the minutes you don't use from month to month. It's called Rollover. It's big, and it's only from Cingular Wireless. 1,000 anytime minutes, and every one of them has Rollover. And now get this cool Motorola phone, only from Cingular Wireless.
Going to the airport? Hey, Bill, you stayed here too? Yeah, want to share a cab? Deal. All right.
Great hotel. Yeah, pricey though. Wasn't that bad. Yeah, if you're a CEO. Why? What did you pay? Here's my bill. I didn't pay nearly that. Not even half. You got ripped. Hey, buddy, I can get you a great deal on the Brooklyn Bridge.
Save up to 70% on hotels worldwide. Hotels.com. The best prices at the best places, guaranteed.
You're 34, sweetheart. You should be thinking about your future.
Mom, I've been investing.
Oh, please.
I bought EMI.
You bought EMI? You own EMI, the music company? Well, I am so proud of you.
You want a piece of my heart? Oh, baby, start from the start. You want to be in the show? Come on, baby, let's go. Everybody's working for the weekend. You don't know how many times I wish that I could hold you. Don't you make my brown eyes.
Ownership. It's for everybody. At Ameritrade. Everything you need to trade. All for $10.99. Every online equity trade, no matter how many shares you buy.
Jam on it. I said to jam on it.
Open an account at Ameritrade.com and get 25 commission-free internet equity trades. 80 million Americans have a share. Ameritrade. What's your share?
A Fox News alert: with United Airlines on the verge of bankruptcy, thousands of flight attendants voted today to accept a package in which they would cut their pay. They would take pay cuts of about $412 million over 5.5 years. You may recall that the stock has sold off significantly, down 30% yesterday alone, trading around $240, and on the verge of bankruptcy, which the company, UAL, the parent company, had targeted December 2nd, which is Monday, as a target date at which they'd like to come up up with a package in which they could go to the federal government and seek $1.8 billion in a bailout from the federal government. Again, one step toward that accomplished today with flight attendants at United Airlines agreeing to take a pay cut of $412 million over 5.5 years.
Minutes after the hour, let's talk about UBL. I think he's still the world's most wanted man, but is he alive or dead? That recent video tape is said to be his voice, and now Al-Qaeda may be responsible for the terror attacks on Israelis in Kenya. So what does come next? Here to talk about that is retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel Bill Cowan. He's also a Fox News military analyst. Thanks for being with us, Bill.
Hi, Derry. Nice to see you.
What's your vote on the tapes, by the way, anyway, or that tape?
Well, yeah, you know, it's interesting. U.S. intelligence was about 80% sure that the tape was him. There's a report out of Switzerland yesterday where a technology lab is about 80% sure it wasn't him. So, you know, one thing's for sure, I'm 100% sure that I don't know. But I've said all along, I thought that bin Laden indeed was dead, because as the leader of an international terrorist organization, in my opinion, he needs to get visible and let his followers know that he's alive and doing well, and instill them to further action. So the fact that he's not showing up is suspicious.
Bill, do we need, or did they need the guy to be alive to plan the attacks in Bali, and also perhaps what happened in Kenya Thursday?
Oh, absolutely not, Derry. They, you know, we know after we went into Afghanistan and put them on the run there that they really decentralized the leadership, and they've gone out to regions now where Al-Qaeda has regional commands that are in charge of doing operations, maybe synchronized a little bit by a central command or maybe some vote of approval, but not the detailed planning that used to be done. So it's not so important that he be alive to run this international network. It's important as a figurehead of this network that he be able to show up and inspire his followers.
Let's talk about Kenya, what happened Thursday. Do you think that it is in fact linked to Al-Qaeda, or perhaps a group that is inspired by Al-Qaeda?
Certainly inspired, if not more, Daria. The thing that really is revealing here is the fact that there were 2 SA-7 missiles fired, and those SA-7 missiles don't just end up in the hands of some new emerging or very small terrorist organization somewhere. We've had some names thrown out already as to where these guys might have come from, but the mere fact that they had SA-7s, which we should assume would either come from Iran, perhaps Iraq, or from the bin Laden's people of Al-Qaeda, those are the principal places within the terrorist structure that we might find SA-7. So it's going to be hard to distance that action down there at some point from perhaps Al-Qaeda, maybe Iran or Iraq.
Okay, so if in fact they were responsible for that October Bali bombing, and then also what just happened on Thursday in Kenya, what does that say to us about their power, their ability to mobilize and plan so well?
Well, Derry, we already know that they're in 60 or 70 countries, and you know, they're always out there. Number of cells, almost 100,000, somewhere between 80 and 100,000 people went through the training camps there in Afghanistan. So we know these guys are all over, and we should expect that they're going to continue to rise up when they have the kind of weaponry they need and when they see a good target to go after. And the Bali resort is a great example of just seeing a target of opportunity. The target down here in Kenya, the target of opportunity, and I think most of us should assume that we're going to see targets of opportunity get hit, places maybe where Americans go frequently, to Mexico or the Caribbean or something like that. At some point, those are going to be on the target list.
Now, Osama bin Laden has criticized the Israelis many times, but they haven't gone after them, just spoken about wrongdoings, they claim. What does that say to you, that they may have in fact have planned this out and now done this attack against Israelis, if in fact it is Al-Qaeda?
Well, my guess would be that it's important that whatever they do, they continue to try to diffuse our efforts and try to influence us by doing things that cause us to divert resources. So by going after Israeli targets, knowing how we are tied to Israel, knowing how we're tied to wanting to have a peace process, make something good come out of the peace process, anything that they would now do against Israel, they realize has an impact on us, diplomatically, militarily, in terms of gathering intelligence, disseminating intelligence. We're impacted by it.
How in the world do you disarm them when they are so far-reaching, I mean, all over the world?
This goes back to the basics that we know this is a problem. Our human the clandestine intelligence service was really neutered years ago. It's going to take years to get that back in place. Our real luck is going to be a very powerful clandestine intelligence service that's out there operating agent networks and continued capability on the technology side to intercept communications. But they're getting smarter about communications at all times, Derry. They know that when they get on a telephone or they send email or whatever else they do electronically, that we have a capability to collect that stuff, and it causes them to be more circumspect in how they communicate. Bottom line, baseline intelligence, clandestine human intelligence service.
All right, Bill Cowan, Fox News military analyst. We certainly appreciate your info.
Thanks, Derry. Nice to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Straight ahead, a former VP is taking on the media, which could be a sign that he's ready to give it another try in 2004. And it might not be a happy holiday season for some federal workers. We're going to tell you why on the network, America Trust.
This program is brought to you by Zenith, the ultimate authority in high-definition TV.
Awesome. The world's first 60-inch plasma HD TV from Zenith. An epic experience just 4 inches deep. From the high-definition authority, Zenith.
Okay, here's the paperwork to apply for your new home loan. I'll check back in a couple of hours to see how you're doing.
But I thought the bank had reduced the paperwork to get a mortgage.
Ooh, right. There you go.
Need cash to consolidate bills? Apply now for a second mortgage from Ditech.com.
Oh no. Lost another loan to Ditech.
Ditech.com. Call 1-800-71-FIXED.
So, today's the big garage sale. What's the matter with this baby?
I really wanted to keep that, but it doesn't steer right and the nuts are rounded off, so I can't fix it.
I've got just the thing. It's an innovative new tool. The Craftsman Bolt-Out Damage Nut and Bolt Remover. These spiral-cut edges are tapered to provide maximum gripping power on any fastener. Hex, round, or square head. It's only $19.99, and because it's from Sears, your satisfaction is guaranteed. Use it almost anywhere on the car. Craftsman makes anything possible. It's the perfect tool for any damaged or stripped fastener.
I tried fixing this with pliers, and now the nut's completely rounded off.
Not a problem. The Craftsman Bolt-Out set includes 5 sizes and storage case.
Hey, Bob. Had a lot of people asking where they can get the Bolt-Out.
Sears. Where else?
Order your Craftsman Bolt-Out set for only $19.99. Call 1-800-454-8668.
Say, Portland, welcome to Mattress World, Tannis-born location. I'm with Sherry and John Heiner. We're here for the giant mattress holiday blowout. And Sherry, you've got some great price points this weekend.
Any size mattress set, just $89 each piece.
Well, it beats the heck out of the $99 deal. John, you got a great selection. I look around, store looks super. What do you got?
Only the best brands: Sealy, Posturepedic, Carrington Chase, Correct Comfort, Crown Jewel, Lewis Collection, Stearns & Foster. If you need it, we have it.
Outstanding. You've got something new to show this weekend.
We've got a full line of pressure-sensitive, motion-free mattresses.
Beautiful. And Sherry, financing options?
We have 1 year, no interest, no payments. That's for 1 full year.
Wow, when I look around, you have some other price points you want to talk about.
We have a queen-size pillow top, real comfortable, just $3.99 for the complete set.
Outstanding. And John, the guarantee is always?
If we can't beat any price on any comparable mattress, then the mattress is free.
That's Mattress World this weekend only for the giant holiday mattress sale. All 6 locations. We'll see you here.
President Bush saying the financial crunch since 9/11 could stop some federal workers from getting a pay raise. With that and other news, a live report now from Fox's James Von Rosen near the Western White House in Crawford, Texas. Hey, Tex. JR.
Greetings to all of you in New York from windy central Texas, where President Bush is saying that because the United States has been in a state of national emergency since September 11, 2001, the federal government cannot give its federal employees full pay raises equivalent to the ones that private companies are giving their own private sector employees in and around the nation's capital. Shortly after 9/11, President Bush turned up at the Eisenhower Executive Office building and thanked federal workers for returning to their jobs. But in a letter he released quietly on Friday to the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate, Mr. Bush said he was invoking his legal authority to limit the pay increases to less than what the federal employees are statutorily entitled to, because full pay hikes would, and I quote, interfere with our nation's ability to pursue the war on terrorism. Most civilian federal government employees will be affected by the decision, but the president noted their pay hikes will still exceed the rate of inflation. Military pay raises will not at all be affected by the president's decision. Now, at least one lawmaker has already declared his opposition to the reduced pay hikes. Democratic Congressman Steny Hoyer of Maryland says that after Mr. Bush created the Homeland Security Department last Monday, thereby reassigning 170,000 executive branch employees, the president's decision gives short shrift to civilian workers at the CIA, the Centers for Disease Control, and elsewhere. Anything less than the 4.1% pay adjustment, Hoyer is quoted as saying today, sends the regrettable message that the services they provide to America are not valued. And Mr. Hoyer, who is influential in the appropriations process, is vowing to try to restore the money legislatively. Now, since this past Wednesday, President Bush himself has stayed out of sight. He is enjoying the holiday weekend with his family, including his parents, the former president and first lady. In his weekly pre-recorded Saturday morning radio address, Mr. Bush, who you see here at a food shelter in Cleveland last year, is urging Americans to perform community service as a way of brightening others' lives during, but also beyond, the holiday season.
Volunteering your time at a soup kitchen, teaching a child to read, visiting a patient in a hospital, or taking a meal to an elderly neighbor or a shut-in are all simple acts of compassion that can brighten someone's life. Every act of love and generosity, however small it may seem, is significant.
Now, we've gotten a rundown on the President's Day from the White House. According to a White House spokesman, the President began his day today with a 3.5-mile run on the grounds of his compound, the Prairie Chapel Ranch. He then received his daily intelligence briefing, during which he was kept updated on the Israeli and Kenyan investigations. Thereafter, the President recorded a Get Out the Vote message, a telephone message for Suzanne Terrell. She is the Louisiana GOP Senate candidate on behalf of whom Mr. Bush will campaign in-state this coming Tuesday. Then the President went for a walk with his brother Marvin, his wife, and also his sister-in-law. And that's about it for the President. We don't expect to see him until he returns to the White House tomorrow. Reporting live from Crawford, Texas, near the President's Ranch, James Rosen, Fox News. Dari, back to you in New York.
All right. Thanks, Tex.
Well, the President signing the Homeland Security bill trying to better secure the nation. But what about your hometown? A lot of mayors are saying that their cities are not ready. Fox's Carol McKinley reports from Denver.
When President Bush signed the Homeland Security bill this week, many city officials who are responsible for fighting terrorism on Main Street, USA, held their applause.
Well, the only thing that we've seen so far is rhetoric. We have not received any dollars, and until we receive the dollars, it means absolutely nothing.
Municipalities across the country who have depleted their local budgets on Homeland Defense are now screaming for federal dollars from the President's new measure to train first responders and buy new equipment before it's too late.
We could have used the dollars yesterday.
The question is not if there's going to be an attack. The question is, when is there going to be an attack?
The nation's hospitals admit they will be overwhelmed if a catastrophe occurs. Hundreds of victims would be at the mercy of space, medicine, and staff shortages. Imagine cots and IVs in high school gyms and city parks.
It is like war.
In our own country.
Right on our back doorstep.
Many hospitals across America are taking measures to counteract a terrorist attack. This is a shower which can spray decontaminant over as many as 100 people per hour. But there's still a huge amount of work to do.
That generally as a nation, we are not prepared.
Former Colorado Senator Gary Hart, who chaired an independent task force on Homeland Security, warns local jurisdictions cannot stand by and wait for federal assistance.
The governor of this state or the mayor of the city can raise taxes. Are they going to do it? Of course not. So they don't think this threat is very serious.
Early next year, Congress will begin allocating billions of promised federal dollars. Local governments are on their own until then. In Denver, Carol McKinley, Fox News.
Of course, what happened in Kenya, growing fears now the terrorists could target commercial planes with missiles. How real is the threat and what's being done to prevent it?
And a treat for you a little bit later, Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr come together for special tribute to the late George Harrison. We'll give you some highlights and have some new details on George's fab fortune. That's straight ahead on Fox News Live.
According to the Wall Street Journal, indoor air pollution can be up to 5 times worse than the air outdoors. Clean air can be the difference between living comfortably or being miserable. Sharper Image introduces the ultimate clean air solution, the patented Ionic Breeze Quadra. Exclusive Xeneon technology cleans and circulates air without a fan or filters and is totally silent. Here's how it works. First, the Ionic Breeze positively charges the incoming air. Then the air is pulled toward the negatively charged grid like a magnet. The positively charged contaminants attach to the collection grid, and then the cleaned air is accelerated into the room, creating a fresh, clean smell. Cleaning takes only minutes. Just pull out the collection grid, wipe it with a damp cloth or sponge, and slip it back in. It's that simple. Studies have proven the Ionic Breeze removes allergens such as pollen and animal dander. It even removes airborne bacteria and some harmful chemicals from carpeting, paint, and household cleaners. It powers through smoke and offensive odors and leaves your house smelling fresh and clean. Don't be misled by the prices of other filters. Over 5 years, hidden costs of filter replacements and electricity can add up to over $1,000. The Ionic Breeze Quadra requires no filters and uses almost no electricity. Try it in your home for 2 months. If you don't love it, send it back. Sharper Image will give you a full refund. Through this exclusive offer, Sharper Image will send you a free bathroom Ionic Breeze. This compact plug-in helps even dirty bathrooms smell fresh and clean 24 hours a day. The $69 bathroom Ionic Breeze is yours free when you order today. And that's not all. Call now and be sure to ask about free shipping.
Call 1-800-440-0378. Help eliminate chemicals, allergens, and odors with the Ionic Breeze Quadra. That's 1-800-440-0378.
The search for weapons. Mohammed El-Baradei responds. A 9/11 investigation. We talk to Henry Kissinger and George Mitchell. That's this week on Fox News Sunday. Check your local listings. A show as original as the host himself, where ideas and interesting people meet. And the unexpected is always welcome. At the corner of news and opinion, you'll find After Hours with Cal Thomas, a most original news show. Premieres Saturday, December 7th, only on Fox News Channel.
31 minutes after the hour, reports out today that Saudis may have been in contact with members of the Hamburg terror cell, the group accused of helping carry out the 9/11 attacks. Now, a German magazine saying Germany's spy agency has traced a number of phone calls allegedly to that cell to Saudi Arabia. The calls reportedly made by a guy who's actually on trial in Hamburg, charged with helping out the terrorists. And United losing a lot of altitude but trying to avoid filing for Chapter 11. Tens of thousands of flight attendants lending a hand voting today for a pay cut estimated at $412 million over the next 5.5 years. United has been suffering from severe financial problems, and analysts had expected it would file for bankruptcy in a matter of weeks. Now, the company has also asked for the feds for a $1.8 billion bailout. Disney now will have to scrub its ship and perhaps its image, this time after another 200 passengers sick at sea again. The Mouse Company saying it's canceling Magic's next voyage, giving crews a chance to clean up the infected areas. And baseball still in the Olympic pantheon. The International Olympic Committee stopping a proposal to drop the mostly all-American sport. The plan proposed by a lower Olympic board to drop baseball, softball, and a pentathlon from the 2008 Beijing Games. The issue isn't necessarily dead, though. It'll come up for another vote after the 2004 Games in Athens.
First for UN weapons inspectors springing a surprise visit on a small military post. With more on the Inspector's Day, Greg Palcott is in Amman, Jordan with the story.
Another day of weapons inspections in Iraq, and today a change of pace. One visit actually looked like a surprise. A team from the Chemical and Biological Weapons Group UNMOBIC went to a small military post to the north of Baghdad. Unlike other visits we have seen at other sites this past week, this stop, according to those there, looked unexpected. Soldiers scurrying around, officials quickly shutting down the facility to others. No weapon production was visible, the possible aim checking for stored warheads filled with chemical or biological agents. The UN asserts that Iraq could have thousands of those unaccounted for. The nuclear watchdog group, the IAEA team, went to a complex known as the Public Company of the Mother of All Battles. The Mother of All Battles is the name given by the Iraqis to the 1991 Gulf War. The facility is part of Iraq's Military Industrial Commission that oversees, among other things, Iraq's nuclear arms program. No comment from the UN today about the results of either of those inspections. Now, what kind of results could be coming from those inspections has been a topic of some discussion this week. It has been noted that 75% of the inspectors have never been to Iraq before. With the clock ticking as fast as it is, the learning curve could be a steep one. There also have been complaints that some more experienced individuals have been passed over, maybe for some lesser experienced ones, like an American inspector with a dual background in munitions and running an S&M leather club. That might be a direct result by the UN to keep the inspectors less vetted, less tied to individual countries. The complaint in the past had been that some of the inspectors have been spies for the countries. The UN now has more leeway in the hiring. The complaint is perhaps there's a little bit less quality control. In Amman, Jordan, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
Terrorists tried to attack an Israeli airliner in Kenya with a missile, but they failed. Now, could they launch a similar attack against a U.S. plane here or abroad and succeed? Report now from correspondent Doug Luzader in Washington.
Millions of Americans traveling by air this holiday weekend, just as the Transportation Security Administration is warning airports about the threat of missile attacks. This stems from the attacks this week on an Israeli passenger jet in Kenya. Two SA-7 missiles were fired less than a mile from the airport there, narrowly missing the jet. U.S. airports have discussed this threat before, but with the Kenya attack, there is now more urgency. The good news, military experts say that while terrorists do have access to these missiles, they do not undergo the rigorous training that U.S. soldiers see. There are few opportunities for terrorists to test fire surface-to-air missiles, which can make a kill shot something really of a matter of luck. Still, they do represent a grave danger.
You might need a passive perimeter of some sort of security around airports, especially on the takeoff and approach plan of any airport. You know, it's very easy for someone to pull up in there with a van and jump out with two SA-14s or SA-18s and take a couple shots and take off.
But the SA-7s are a different story. These are very old Soviet-designed surface-to-air missiles, most likely built back in the 70s. Military experts tell us the explosives on board may not be lethal enough to immediately bring down a large jetliner. Defending planes against missile attacks could involve equipping them with missile countermeasures. They are costly, though, and U.S. airlines are already strapped for cash. But they are working with the TSA to develop a strategy. A spokesman for the TSA says there has already been a classified meeting with the airlines to discuss this threat of missile attacks. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
And still ahead, more move over Britney Spears. Barbie's not so innocent either. Is this new doll just a sign of the times, or has Barbie gone wild? We'll report so you can decide.
Ah, yes, and former Vice President Al Gore taking issues with some of the media. Wonder who? Maybe Fox yes, he's going to take another try in the White House in 2004, don't you think? We're going to ask. We're going to get a debate going up on the Network America Trust for real journalism, fair and balanced, and debates over this kind of thing. Should be good. Stay with us.
There's a company that can help you find your way in today's financial world. One that knows both sides of wealth, growing it and protecting it. With a full spectrum of financial solutions, advice from skilled professionals, and smart strategies to keep you on course. A company that's been managing wealth for 125 years. We're Prudential Financial, growing and protecting your wealth.
Delicious custom soft serve treats with the new Black & Decker Arctic Twister ice cream mixer. Use store-bought ice cream or frozen yogurt with your favorite fruit, candies, cookies, or cereal. It's great family fun and the perfect gift. So turn on the Arctic Twister and turn up the fun.
Innovation. It happens when form and function come together. The latest breakthrough from Craftsman, the thin profile ratchet. It's thinner and stronger than even our most popular ratchet. With state-of-the-art features like a recessed quick-release button and fine-tooth gearing. Look at this socket, the first of its kind with this laser mark design. Just $79.99 for this innovative ratchet and socket set. For the most revolutionary thing to happen to a wrench, look no further than the Craftsman reversible ratcheting wrench. The unique ratcheting end means you won't have to reposition your wrench, so you can quickly tighten and loosen the most stubborn fasteners. Switch the reverse lever and easily change directions. Call now for the Craftsman wrenches that take on any job. Made in the USA and guaranteed forever from Craftsman, the #1 tool brand in America.
Order your Craftsman thin profile ratchet and socket set or reversible ratcheting wrench set, just $79.99 each. Call 1-800-704-4466.
Fox News alert for you now. How often do you get to see these pictures? This is a spacewalk right now. The Space Shuttle Endeavour. Michael Lopez Alegria and also John Harrington up in space, actually doing a repair right now. Too much technical information, but actually they are repairing the ammonia coolant lines so that they can release as designed. But once again, just take a look at these pictures.
It's a helmet cam there.
It is a helmet cam. Actually, one of them is wearing a camera on their helmet, and that is how you are actually able to see these pictures. They've been up for about a little over an hour, about an hour and 20 minutes. Earlier today, they did have some problems. Apparently, a rail car crucial to the space station had derailed. It impacted the construction, complicating matters. But once again, they are doing the spacewalk right now to do some repairs on the coolant lines. Again, great pictures in space for you right now.
Al Gore, who was just a few electoral votes away from the White House, did you hear about that? Oh, well, he says he's going to wait till after the holidays to announce whether he'll give it another try in 2004. We're on the edge of our seat waiting because we have no idea. He hasn't given any clues at all. But that hasn't stopped the former VP from making the rounds and taking some pot shots at the American media. So is Gore now setting the stage for 2004? Joining us, Republican strategist Patrick McCarthy and Democratic strategist Cliff Schechter. Cliff, Al, let's start with you. Al Gore took some shots at Fox, among others. Do you agree with them that Fox and, what did he say, the Washington Times, that they were arms of the Republican Party? Is that what you all are going with now?
Well, you know, I was always told not to bite the hand that feeds you, so I, of course, love the Fox News Network and watch it every day.
And nobody has told you what to say, correct?
Not today, but...
well, nobody at Fox has told you what to say.
Exactly. But when it comes to certain other outlets, I believe there's somewhat of a bias. You mentioned the Washington Times. A perfect example is there used to be, a term within the magazine or within the newspaper called prudinizing, based upon the editor-in-chief there, who used to rearrange the front page so that it would have the conservative slant, the news articles that he was looking for. So I don't think Al Gore is completely off base. I mean, he's obviously doing what he needs to do to get back out there and get in the fight. But all
right, let's give Patrick a chance to respond. Patrick, what do you think?
Sure.
Well, Al Gore's got a lot more problems than the Fox Network or the Washington Times, and I think he's reacting to that. Frank Rich in the New York Times attacked him for his second or third or fourth, I'm losing count, his reinvention of himself for this new latest campaign. And the DNC members who were surveyed recently said they don't want him as their candidate. And so he is lashing out at the first available target, and I think showing himself to really be out of touch with the American people. I mean, if you look at just the ratings of this network as compared to that other cable outlet, this network is growing in popularity because it's giving a better product to the people. And Al Gore can't believe that people like an unbiased report.
Okay, let's get Cliff. Okay, Cliff, go ahead.
Well, I'd start by saying I think that the L.A. weather has gone a little bit to Patrick's head. I mean, he should be back here stuck in the rain in D.C. Maybe he'd think a little bit differently. But
Cliff, let me ask you this. The liberals of the 60s, of the 50s, 60s, 70s, they fought the good fight. They won the Civil Rights War. The liberals were there. That battle was won and put into state and federal law. And now the focus of the American public, don't you think, has shifted a little away from those fights? Now, I'm not saying that there's no discrimination in this world and that women are always treated equally, but it is against the law not to. And so now people are more concerned about Homeland Security and that sort of thing. Do you think Gore may be fighting the battle of the past?
I absolutely don't think so. I think Al Gore's got some things to say, as Democrats should have to say on Homeland Security. The Democrats did not come out and say what the truth was during this campaign and tell the people that George W. Bush, who likes to crow about the Homeland Security bill, refused to sign it for 7 months when it was Joe Lieberman's idea. That George W. Bush has passed tax cuts that make it so that he can't fully fund the Homeland Security Department. That Afghanistan is in chaos right now, and we're not doing anything. And we hear reports on your station that Al-Qaeda is regrouping along the borders. So, I mean, Democrats, certainly we in the past had a lot to say on these issues, and I think the shame of it is that we didn't say this in this particular election, that George W. Bush has done a lot of things wrong, and then he goes and he stonewalls a 9/11 commission for as long as possible so we don't find out what went wrong. And now we finally get Henry Kissinger, his friend, running things. So, I mean, there's certainly a lot of territory there for Democrats to talk about that are with the modern age.
Cliff, name the winning Democratic candidate who talked about raising taxes, i.e. repealing the Bush tax cut, who said, no, union rights should come ahead of saving America from another terrorist attack when it comes to the Homeland Security bill.
Well, that's the problem, Patrick.
Where was that candidate? Where was that message?
That's the problem, Patrick, is no Democrat talked about that. Had Democrats talked about that and said, you know, what we should have is we should not just give, excuse me, Patrick, if we shouldn't just give tax cuts to all your friends like Kenny Layboy, that we should actually give tax cuts in the form of a payroll tax cut to hardworking Americans who are not getting anything right now. And if that had been the focus of the debate, you'd lose.
I mean, go talk about that then.
Well, listen, wait a minute, Cliff. Give Patrick a chance here. Patrick, go ahead.
Okay. I've got this question. Al Gore is saying that in the last campaign he was run by the consultants. You know, Naomi Wolf made him the alpha male. He brought out the sweaters, and this time he's going to be true to who he is.
Hold on, Cliff.
They were, but he's going to be true to who he is this time. So basically he's saying, A, I lied to you in 2000. That wasn't the real Al Gore. Now the real Al Gore is here, and he's saying single-payer Soviet-style healthcare system. He's saying rather than, you know, this straight-talk express of John McCain, it's the straight-left express to get nominated again. And I want to ask you a question, Cliff. Who do you want to be your leader of your party in this next election? The Bay Area Bolshevik, Nancy Pelosi?
Leave it at that. Who do you want to be the leader, Cliff?
Express of Al Gore.
Listen, I don't feel like at this point I have to decide the one leader. I think we've got a bunch of terrific leaders. I think we have John Kerry, who, unlike George Bush and Dick Cheney, didn't have, quote, other priorities during Vietnam, but actually decided to go. I think we have General Wesley Clark, who's throwing his hat in the ring. I'd love to see him debate George W. Bush on international security issues. That could be a funny episode of any comedic show on Comedy Central. And in addition to that, we've got others coming out too. We've got a great young, fresh face in John Edwards.
So it sounds like you're putting other names out there that Gore is not your guy, Cliff.
Well, I'm simply saying it shouldn't be handed to Gore just because he was there before. Al Gore has a lot of great things to say too. Patrick and his friends forget that George Bush still has a 550,000 vote margin to make up to even get up to where Al Gore was in the last election, not counting the fact that Nader swept 2% more off the top. So in the end, Al Gore didn't run such a horrible campaign. The electoral vote came out the way it did. We accept that. But it certainly wasn't a sweeping mandate. And in this particular last election, yeah, I mean, George, these guys love to cry about the Lincoln bedroom, and you had Air Force One turning into Lincoln bedroom.
Patrick, you got 10 seconds.
Cliff wants to brush aside the fact that Al Gore was out there in the closing days of this election with Bill Clinton trying to regain their throne, and the American people said no. They trust George Bush, and I'm happy to go into this next election with him leading my ticket.
Patrick McCarthy and Cliff Schechter, thank you. I have a feeling, just an inclination now, that we may be talking about this again.
Probably. Thank you, my Democratic friends out there in California, Patrick.
Thank you. Goodbye, gentlemen.
Whew, straight ahead, surviving members of the Fab Four come together to remember Quiet Beetle George. Fox's entertainment guy, Bill McCuddy, has that story, and the one and only Barbie doll, did you have one? Getting a sexy makeover, not even with Victoria's Secret clothes. Find out why the new Barbie has some parents' worries.
We moved into a new house where Mom got this great new job. I heard her talking to Dad about doing the right thing with her retirement money. Something about rollover, which gave me this great idea. Come on, baby. Come on. Roll over. Roll over. You're just gonna turn your body this way. Our pro rollover was easier. It must be.
No-load mutual funds from T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence.
My brother Danny and me, for as long as I can remember, we've been competitive about everything. He got a new truck, I got a bigger one. I've got a family, he's got a bigger one. That's the way it's always been. And my doctor tells me to start taking an aspirin every day for my heart. Just one St. Joseph aspirin. It's smaller than a regular aspirin, but he says that's all I need. So maybe bigger isn't always better. Try telling him that.
St. Joseph Aspirin. Trust it with all your heart.
Deck the halls with great savings from Bassett.
It's the holiday home sale at Bassett Furniture Direct. Save 20% on the entire Options Contemporary collection. Choose the finish for your bedroom or dining room. It's all on sale. And save $100 on any Simply Yours sofa. Choose your fabric, tailor your base, arms, and pillows.
A custom sofa ready for delivery in 30 days, guaranteed.
Plus, get 0% interest for 6 months. Bassett's Home Holiday Sale.
Going on now.
AT&T Broadband.
Pay-per-view.
Catch the best the NBA has to offer with NBA League Pass on Sports in Demand.
NBA League Pass is like my own personal NBA control room.
Get up to 40 out-of-market regular season games a week on digital cable.
My job transferred me far from home, but I can still see my team play.
Order today. Call 1-888-SPORTS-IN. Upgrade to AT&T digital cable and catch the best of the NBA every week on Sports in Demand.
Rich.
Thanks for filling in.
ESPN Sports Center, brought to you by Community Chevrolet.
Honey, starting a family means getting a new car.
VHIX.com is the easiest way to shop for cars.
Compact? We're talking family.
Right. With online comparisons, features, even safety records.
It's too small.
It's a sedan.
It's too small.
Exactly how big of a car will we need?
So you can find the one car for you and your family.
Minivan.
VHIX.com. Roadmap to the automotive world.
And from the Fox Weather Center, I'm Colin Marquis. As for the holiday and travel stretch period, I have some good news for folks. If you don't mind a little chilly weather, I think the big story will be the cold across the Midwest and the East Coast as we head towards Sunday to wrap up the holiday weekend. So temperatures today, here's what we got: 20s and teens in the upper Midwest. One more day of not too bad type temperatures for the East Coast, 40s to around 50. But look at the bottom dropout from Washington up toward Boston, 30s, and add the wind for Sunday, and you're talking about wind chills in the teens and 20s by Sunday afternoon along the East Coast. Meanwhile, what does that mean as far as precipitation? Well, most of the nation is tranquil, but as that cold air goes over the Great Lakes, look at toward Michigan. You see the wind direction. You see the streamers of heavy snow coming off of Lake Michigan. That's going to be mimicked south and east of Lakes Erie and Ontario. So Cleveland, Buffalo, up towards Syracuse, I think that is going to be a place where we have some heavy snow squalls. So folks traveling along I-90 in and out of the heavy snow for Sunday. The remainder of the nation pretty tranquil, but cold for the Midwest and the East. Brr. Back to you, Bob and Derry.
All right, thanks for that report, Colin.
All right, has Barbie gone from a cutie to a hottie? And does that cross a line of some sort? Some parents think so.
Mattel's new line of the doll raising some eyebrows. Some parents...
I've always thought she was kind of a hottie, but that gets off the point.
It's a doll, Bob. It's a doll. Some parents worried their girls will follow in the doll's footsteps. Anita Vogel explains that one.
She's the face of a new Times Square billboard, suggesting that when it comes to friendships, they can never be too tight. You know her name, but you might not recognize her.
The Barbies are in crop tops. They're in pants that are cut so that they go way below their hips. They have you know, high heels on.
It's the latest incarnation of an American icon. My Scene Barbie dresses a lot like Britney Spears. Sporting low-riding jeans and a bare midriff, Mattel is hoping to recapture the attention of preteen girls. But some parents question whether they want this Barbie in their homes.
I don't want my daughter to see Barbie in her underwear, in her lacy peignoirs with the peekaboo and the garters, and think that that's what she needs to wear to be attractive or to get attention.
Katie Gerges is one of a group of parents waging an email campaign to get Mattel to pull the provocatively dressed dolls from the shelves. Lingerie Barbie, marketed to older girls and collectors, sparked a similar reaction. But at least one toy store believes they're overreacting. FAO Schwartz carries Barbies of all shapes and sizes, but points out that Lingerie Barbie in particular is not meant for younger girls and is sold in a special section.
We have not received any complaints in terms of where it is placed in the store, or that it's offensive to them, or that they're coming up and they're saying that their little girl wants to go home and actually dress like this individual. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Mattel refused to be interviewed for this story, but has said it has no plans to pull any of its dolls, and in fact will introduce several male counterparts to the My Scene line next spring. In Los Angeles, Anita Vogel, Fox News.
All right, it has been a year since the death of Beatle George Harrison, and now the last two members of the Fab Four have come together to remember him. And Fox's entertainment correspondent Bill McCuddy has the details.
They came to pay tribute to a Beatle and helped raise money for one of his favorite causes. The two surviving Beatles reunited for an emotional tribute to the late George Harrison on the first anniversary of his death.
It's a reflection and a celebration. My dear friend George died on that date. It's 1 year to the day. And it's sort of a positive mood.
Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney reunited last night to join Eric Clapton, Joe Cocker, and Harrison's son Danny for a night of music before an audience of 5,000 devoted fans.
I'd like to be here to have George in my mind and to see the other fellows around and to see the other guys playing his songs.
Money raised by the Concert for George at London's Royal Albert Hall will benefit the Material World Charitable Foundation, which Harrison founded. Harrison was 58 when he died of cancer. The crowd was on its feet when Starr and McCartney came to the stage. George Harrison left almost $155 million in his will, according to court documents just released. That's a lot of money, but far less than some expected. The bulk of his money expected to go to his widow and 25-year-old son, under a trust arrangement designed to avoid writing a big check to the Crown. That won't surprise fans of the Quiet Beatle, who will remember he was the one who penned the anti-tax anthem, The Taxman, on the Revolver album. In New York, Bill McCuddy, Fox News.
All right, and that is going to do it for us for this last 2 hours. I'm Jerry Alexander in New York.
And I'm Bob Sellers, apparently in New York as well. Thanks for being with us. Much more on Fox News Live ahead. Up next, Paige Hopkins and Julian, you ready?
Yes.
All right. Julian Phillips will be here as well.
And they will have the latest idea to track terrorists. Okay, they'll have the latest idea to track terrorists. Now I understand what it says. Here's a hint you may need to get used to the idea of being watched. Keep it here on the network America Trusts for real journalism. Al Gore, fair and balanced.
In my time in Vietnam, but I wasn't the only soldier there. There was another soldier, Christy Lane.
Christy Lane has touched the hearts of millions through her beautiful singing of One Day at a Time. I'm only human. And now, with all the turmoil in the world today, you will find faith and inspiration in these 47 classics. Help me believe in what I could be and all that I... Truly two great albums, One Day at a Time and Footprints. One set of footprints in the sand. Call now and you save 50%. Lord, you promised me you'd hold my hand. I believe in angels. Something good in everything I see. Songs of comfort and strength. In his hand, he's got the whole wide world. In his hand, he's got... Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling. Every song you've always wanted, from Glen to Glen. Call now for this special offer. The mountain, just a closer walk with thee. One day at a time, sweet Jesus. I'm only human. I am a woman. I believe in angels. Over 2 hours of beautiful singing by Christy on 2 CDs or 2 cassettes for the special price of $14.99 plus shipping, or mail your check to Christy Lane, Madison, Tennessee. Call now, 1-800-214-3399. A beautiful gift for someone you love.
Saturday. The new 105.9, The River. First class rock.